Hello, and welcome to the Institute of Applied Reality. I am your instructor, Earnest Twidt, and this is an addendum to Finite Terminology 101, which I am calling Understanding Trump 2.0. Things are a bit crazy around the Institute these days, and I'm hoping to send out a lifeline to those who are drowning in despair and confusion. Maybe with a little bit of perspective, it might ease something. But to understand what's going on right now, we have to go back, way back. At our core, human beings evolved from pack animals. Like wolves or chimps, we developed a functioning society by working together to achieve goals that served everyone in the pack. Everyone had a job and a purpose, from the leader to his lieutenants who served underneath him and carried out his directives, to others, birthing new members, taking care of offspring, protecting the pack when the hunters were out getting food, and on and on. The leader was usually the strongest or smartest or most adept at fighting. There were benefits to be the leader: first choice of food, pick of breeding partner, deciding a direction for his pack. But he also had additional duties. When encountering other packs, the two leaders would fight, and the victor was determined, and the defeated would accept the consequences of being less than the victors. There were benefits being in a victorious pack, and it was highly desirable to be in that elevated position. For the most part, this social structure worked. It made sense. It was a hierarchy that was known and understood, and the society had faith and supported this structure. Of all the parts of society, being a soldier may be the least considered compared to its significance. It was often compulsory, grueling, uncomfortable, terrifying, boring, with meager compensation, and meant putting your life in danger for others. It has always been considered honorable to die for your pack, either while hunting or defending territory or saving people in natural disasters or attempting to secure benefits for your peoples. These were all noble deaths. The people dying believed it. The survivors believed it. It's in our psyche to accept death if necessary. But sadly, there have been those among us that have used that to their advantage. It is a fact of being human that we manipulate each other. We don't like to accept it, but we've all been manipulated, and we all manipulate. In fact, I'm doing it at this very moment, presenting you with an idea and doing my damnedest to get you to accept it. I'm using animations and performance to cajole you into trusting me so that you'll be open to my perspective. It's not malicious, but it is manipulation. There are, however, many people who manipulate others maliciously for their own ends, which oftentimes leads to the end of others. Maybe it's because the victors write the history, but it seems we are enamored with men who were masterful manipulators. These men were capable of convincing thousands to sacrifice their lives by conquering lands and forcing the conquered people to serve the manipulator as their ruler. Conquering lands is only achieved by killing other people more effectively than they can kill your people, or making them believe that will be the case. So lots of people on both sides of the equation suffer greatly. Conquering is morally complex because it's doing things to people nobody would want done to them. It's about dominating them, subjugating them, destroying their homes, denying their freedom, stealing their resources, co-opting their technology, raping their women, enslaving their children, ignoring their humanity. All things which most of us agree are reprehensible. Yet, time and again, we humans have been seduced to follow these monsters. I call individuals like Adolf Hitler or Alexander the Great or Genghis Khan superiors. Superiors are the antithesis of leaders and don't see the world as a collection of individuals who have rights and worth like them. The people are just the raw materials to make their desires come to life. Superiors see life as a competition, think in terms of winners and losers, and everything is allowable to achieve supremacy. Superiors believe they deserve what they deserve, regardless of whether it deprives the resources of others around them. In fact, having more than others proves their superiority. By virtue of their acquired power, superiors have written the rules justifying their behavior, contorting a vocabulary, using words like ruthlessness, when it's just a blatant disregard of others' humanity and will. They make their actions not only acceptable, but laudatory and great, to the point where billionaires are admired, even though they could easily feed thousands of starving children, but they just choose not to. We ignore the fact that to achieve their obscene wealth, they significantly overcharge us for goods or services and underpay their employees who actually make the goods or provide the service. We fail to recognize the fact that they don't care about others at all, and their achievements are to glorify themselves. Superiors are psychologically ill, often diagnosed as malignant narcissists, and they see humanity's superpower not as a thing of awesome beauty, but a thing to be harnessed for themselves. I understand to say that superiors are ill is a controversial statement, but we must look at it objectively. These are people who possess a black hole of need within their being, which cannot be filled. They will always need more. Superiors seeking to fill this void will find advantage over others and use their weaknesses against them for their benefit. I think the best way to understand superiors is to see them as a virus. In their quest, they invade a body to further their ends. I don't believe it's their initial intention, but harming other people is a byproduct of their actions. We live in a society that has deemed hurting others as an offense. I don't think they should be punished, but the society should be made aware of their presence and find ways to inoculate us from them. Superiors should be provided help and care and offered rehabilitation, but denied free access to infect and harm others.
Superiors tap into our primitive psyche and spark the mindset of superiority which resides there. Superiority is a fear-based mindset which thrives on the idea that might makes right and rejects the trust-based society we've actually built.
Without being fully aware of this fact, we as a society have become comfortable with trusting all manner of strangers with our health, safety, finances, future, children, and even life. We've put an enormous amount of faith in individuals we have never spoken with or even met. We have achieved so much based on this unspoken trust, and though occasionally we've been burned, I would argue it's far more regular that we have benefited. And more often than not, it's superiors doing the burning. Superiors rely on our trust, but they present themselves as the only ones to be trusted and actively damage the trust we have in institutions, individuals, professions, and even our own perception. In the wreckage of failing trust, they present a clear hierarchical structure which defines an individual's value and place in the society, from lieutenants on down. Adherents to superiority know they're not the superior themselves, but thrive on the sense of their superiority over others. They collect in groups that define lessers based on skin color or ethnic background or religious adherence or nationality or political affiliation or sexual orientation or financial status or sports team or educational achievement or hair length or whatever. Following a superior grants adherents the sense that their mindset is legitimate and their status in the hierarchy is respected. A superior mindset glorifies the powerful over the weak, demeans the gentle as stupid, generosity as a lie, and cooperation outside the group as a trap. Life is meant to be a constant struggle of striving for dominance and fighting to keep it or gain more. And a victory of a superior you follow is a victory for you.
The United States and our democratically elected government was founded as a rejection of superiors. The monarchy is a superior institution, and the founders sought a system that gave individuals the rights to determine their own destiny. Sadly, slavery, another institution of superiority, was woven into the system, and it perverted the core intent. Over time, this perversion was addressed and slavery made illegal. But sadly, superiority is a stubborn weed to remove.
After superiors nearly destroyed the world with the Great Depression and World War II, global leaders determined superiors should be reined in. A democratically elected government is the strongest force against superiority because it represents the will of the people. It acknowledges that people are and have always been the power, the engine, the force behind it all, and they deserve to be heard and recognized. The people, strong or weak, intelligent or simple, masterful or novice, deserve to have a decent life, not at the mercy of superiors. The post-war government enacted policies that limited superior power by taxing the wealthy significantly, creating programs to assist the poor and marginalized, helping defeated countries and giving aid to devastated peoples, promoting civil rights and regulating corporations that polluted, took advantage of workers, and denied them rights. We entered an era when income inequality decreased, education improved, and lives became healthier. This was outrageous to superiors. Some felt lessers were getting things that belonged to them, and others felt denied their freedom to realize their potential. They rejected the idea that the government should protect people, as they believed it is everyone's individual responsibility to take care of themselves. If a superior can part a fool from his money, then that's what they should be allowed to do. The government shouldn't be allowed to pick winners and losers. Why should the government force people to put aside money for their old age in the form of Social Security when superiors could take that money and profit from it themselves? So superiors started their war against government, the only thing big enough and powerful enough to contain them. The wealthy still owned the companies and corporations. They still owned the media. But in a democracy, you need people to vote for representatives in order to change the government. Using the media, they created the narrative of fearing others, the lurking menace, the danger around the corner. The key for superiors was to find or create divisions and exploit them. The greatest division in American society became people wanting things to progress and people wanting things to stay the same. Whereas there used to be some liberal Republicans and some conservative Democrats, they were now reformed into a strictly conservative right Republican and a liberal left Democrat. Though there are some liberal superiors, in general, superiors tend to be more conservative for numerous reasons. Their power comes from wealth, which is either passed down or generated through dominant technology and trends. If technology advances beyond their investments, they could lose significant power. Additionally, and maybe more importantly, since they see the world as a constant competition with others trying to knock them from their perch, they don't trust anyone or anything they can't control. They live in constant fear and anxiety. Keeping things static and cocooned is far preferable to whatever change may bring. One of the first exploited divisions was race. Though they were only 11% of the US population in 1960, equal rights for blacks was a hugely divisive issue. Whether they were racist themselves is unimportant, but superiors used racism, blaming the left for giving blacks equal rights and upsetting the hierarchical order that replaced slavery. The fear of the dangerous black man emptied cities, which created economic dead zones that minorities didn't have the resources to escape. Without adequate capital and investment, failing tax bases left cities desperate, and they fell into disrepair and eventual criminality. This natural progression was exploited, and as liberals hoped to provide a lifeline to these devastated communities, conservatives pointed out that it was white tax dollars being used to support blacks. The political maneuver known as the Southern Strategy exemplifies this, turning the bulk of former slave states into conservative strongholds. Over the decades, there were so many other divisions, like when, for purely economic reasons, women en masse entered the workforce and expected equal consideration. Well, the superiors used it as an attack on the traditional family, condemning women for not knowing their subservient role in society. They said taxes were too onerous when the people were actually getting a decent return on their investment. Although historically Republicans left religion and sexuality up to the individual, they now supported a fanatical Christian ideology that embraced the division between the worthy and the godless, because liberals supported abortion and equal rights for homosexuals. They demanded a smaller government when the government was doing a lot of things that made life better for the majority. Said regulation was stifling innovation, even after deregulation led to the recession in 2008. When liberals supported peace, they promoted war. When liberals supported war, they called them warmongers. When they condemned liberals for taxing and spending too much, a Democratic president balanced the budget, which the next Republican president said was taking too much from people, gave a huge tax break, and blew up the national debt. You can always tell if it's an exploit when, if the liberals do it, it's bad, and when the conservatives do it, it's good. They aren't consistent about anything because most issues don't actually matter. It's always division that's the point. In fact, the whole right, left, conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat paradigm is meaningless. And it's just a game they got us to play for decades in order to create division.
Donald Trump is not a conservative. How many of his actions and policies actually fly in the face of supposed Republican core beliefs? No. Donald Trump is a superior. Elon Musk is a superior.
Without any remorse or recognition of years of public service, they are gleefully firing tens of thousands of civil servants, completely ignoring the trauma of losing a job with little notice and little recognition that they are completely turning upside down many families' lives. Our fellow Americans were hired to do a job, unaware that they could be fired at the whim of a superior. These fellow Americans were working for us, but are accused of being fraudsters and wastes of money. Trump and Musk are removing oversight and protection from major departments that handle everything from the IRS to the VA to the Department of Education and USAID. They are allowing actual boys to infect government databases where they are free to steal sensitive data from every single one of us. They are issuing mandates that alter laws that are meant to protect individuals and openly and blatantly contradict the Constitution.
It's not coincidental. It's purposeful. It's intentional. For decades, the wealthy superiors have been undermining the government by perverting it from the inside.
They have successfully changed the highest court in the land to favor a superior mindset. Time and again, the Supreme Court has sided with the wealthy, including determining that money is speech and that unlimited amounts of money can be contributed to any candidate. They actually said money is not corrupting. So now the wealthy buy representatives in the government who are failing to live up to their oath of office or their commitment to their constituents and provide a check and balance on the other branch of government. They prefer to hang out in the media ecosystem that normalizes everything questionable and stirs outrage and resentment and fear. Right-wing media has been so effective in perverting their consumers that they actually believe that the government should be run like a business. It's not a business. It's never been a business. It's about people's lives, and to reduce it all to dollars is obscene and twisted. They have demonized immigrants, children on federal assistance, researchers, and the institutions and ideas that attempt to make lives worth living, like wokeness, DEI, universities, mainstream media, scientists, and anyone who doesn't agree with them. They have successfully manipulated a large part of this nation to adopt a regressive mindset and embrace force over cooperation, money over people.
But you have to understand that Trump and Musk aren't the only superiors. No. They're just the useful idiots of the others who don't want to be seen. Yeah, it's true, if Donnie and Elon win, they will be kings. But being the face of power often brings backlash that you're not really interested in.
So others stand in the wings marveling at the efficacy and speed of their efforts. With their greatest foe government now toppling, a greater concentration of wealth and power is headed their way. They will be free to manipulate us without hindrance, and then their fun will begin. If it all goes well, we will be just like Russia. And even if Donald Trump fails and he is impeached and removed from office, the superiors will still win. After 2008, when the superiors nearly bankrupted this nation, none of the principals that caused that disaster were ever brought to trial, much less named. There was never any point because our system is corrupt. Instead, Barack Obama and the Democratic Congress brought us back from the brink, never labeling the perpetrators because they knew they needed superiors to right what was wrong. It was a deal with the devil that paid off adequately, but right-wing media never stopped pushing. The fact is that the wealthy are too big to fail, like the banks and insurance companies they run. If they are attacked, there's a good chance they will tank the system and then pick up the pieces like they did after 2008. Did you know
The wealth of the top 1% went up over 40% after that disaster which they created. Who knows how much they will end up with after this looming disaster? But I must admit, my greatest concern at the moment is the soldiers. The military has always been the muscle behind government, so the outstanding question remains, have their superiors infected them? Their duty is to the Constitution, and I believe their training focuses on that fact. It has been disconcerting to see law enforcement following a lawless structure which sees the president as king, watching agents pick up people legally here in this country and taking them to undisclosed locations, violating their rights, has been hard to watch. There are rules to follow, but we seem to be beyond that now. Will the military follow in those footsteps, or will they defend this nation from the threats to the Constitution and the people who it serves?
I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers.
Will true leaders arise and be followed? Hopefully, it will never come to that. So what hope is there? Despite what they think, superiors don't have all that much power. Yes, superiors control the money and the resources and the narrative and parts of the government. But they don't control us. We, the people, have the power. We've always had the power. Yes. Superiors have converted a lot of us to their way of thinking, but we've known a better world. And the fact is, they're going to be offering us a world that is less than what we currently have now. Do they really think we're just going to accept it? There are 330 million of us, and despite being just 4% of the world population, we have been the beacon of something greater for the past 80 years. Are we just going to throw that away because of fear and distrust? No, our better days could be ahead of us. We have to stop fearing each other. We have to start believing in each other. And I know the country we create may take some time, but it will be incredible. Because maybe this time we'll understand that superiors have always been our downfall. Be well, everyone. Until next time.